Amazon was red for numerous years. I don't know if they're still red now. I'm pretty sure they're profitable, but I'm not 100% sure. But being red in the beginning doesn't mean that you're a terrible business person necessarily.
That's true,
You know,
and that's not really what I was trying to say. I wasn't really trying to say because he's in the red. I didn't even know that he is in the red. He's
yeah.
a multi-billionaire. He's still got billions. I don't know if it's possible for him to ever be
Well,
in the red.
the business.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know the details of the business, so that's not what I was referencing. I don't know whether the business is in the red. What I do know is that he's lost billions in valuations of Twitter since he bought it. I know that he's lost
Yeah.
close to $20 billion in valuation of it. I think that
Yeah.
that is for someone who's a investigator and data driven, I think that's a huge and significant data point, and I don't think that it can just be dismissed in terms of his business acumen at all. If you're willing to dismiss that, I would need to understand what it is that you look to in order to decide, because you didn't really say. You kind of said, oh, like everything he touched turns to gold, but like, is that true? Like, what are you going off of to
Well,
decide that?
Tesla is a great example. You know, that their
I mean,
stocks are
they just
doing
had a
great.
full
After all this
recall
time,
at
and that
Tesla. Like, so like
I'm sorry.
I mean, they just had to recall all of their all of on all of their vehicles because of a programming issue. So like, I guess I have to understand
Yeah.
what it is you're referencing about Tesla that would make you say that he's a good business person, because the facts, there have to be some facts that like point to that, right? Like, there are facts that point to him being a problematic business person. So you've got to give me something so I can like go on to your point of view.
Well, I see him as an engineer and a business person kind of married together, right? So with Tesla, he made great processes for pumping out, cars in a very cost effective manner. I don't look at technical problems like a recall, because of a bad update or whatever. Like, I wouldn't, like, you're gonna run into issues along the way, but
Yeah, of course, but like,
he
see,
tends
that's
to
that's
he
kind
has
of what you
a
say every single
really good
time.
habit of.
Like every single time I bring up something that may show that he's not the best business person, you're like, well, issues are going to occur. I'm like, okay, so like everything that goes wrong in a business is not reflective
Well, hold on.
then of a
I didn't
bad
say
business
best.
person. So how then are you then measuring meritocracy then?
Well, I didn't. Well, no, I look at the processes that he's made and how efficient they are, and whether or not the business turns out profitable at the end. Right now, I think Tesla they they had like the highest selling car in the world right now, or something like that. Selling car of all time. I can't remember the exact detail. Um, and like he made super model because of that. He did the same thing with rockets. Like I said, he's on track to making one Starship per day. Like, that's going to be within our within this decade. I think that's going to be, so he has this habit of iterating and making things more efficient, more efficient, more efficient. That's what I see that he's really good at, and that's literally the heart of what's going to make not only a business survive, make it thrive and come out on top from everyone else.
I was saying, are you trying to say that
Hello?
if you are taking race into account when you're doing your hiring, that it's impossible for you to create an efficient business because you won't hire people who will have a high level of efficiency?
No, what I'd be confident enough to say is, if you use DEI in your practices, at minimum, you're not going to, a minimum, someone is eventually going to make a business that's going to outcompete you, because someone's going to come around, not use DEI, and come out in front of you. And so it'll
Okay,
be,
hang
it's
on,
just a
hang on.
matter of,
Okay, no, I'm glad you stated your premise. That's your premise.
yeah,
Is that if you create a business, right, and you
yeah,
hire using DEI practices, that eventually
correct,
someone will come along and create a business not using DEI practices that is going to outperform yours. What is
correct, yes.
your evidence to support that belief? You need to have
Well,
some. This
I
is,
think,
it's all imaginary until you have some kind of evidence.
well, no, I think some things are just self-evident, because if I say, okay, we got too many white people, so we're not going to look at any of them, right there is a probability that you're not gonna that the best person was in that group, and you're not gonna get that best person now. Like that probability is there, and because that probability is there, all that has to occur is for that scenario to occur enough times, and you're going to run into more than one instance of not hiring the best person, and that person is going to go to your competition. You get that? Am I making sense? It's mathematically inevitable. Sorry about that.
So, sorry. Can you repeat the math one more time so I can understand your mathematical argument here?
Yeah, because if there's a probability that by denying a group based on their skin color, right, that you're not going to hire from that group, right there, you're introducing a probability that you're not going to be able to get the best person for a job role. So that means that scenario just has to occur enough times, and you're going to run into instances where you're not getting the best person. It's going to happen more than once. Like, it's inevitable at that point. That's why I'm
okay.
You don't need to pull data.
But that's a different point, right? That you just made now than you made earlier. That's not the same point. The point you just made.
All right, say that again.
Yeah, I was trying to restate what you just said and try to distinguish it from what you said earlier. So what you just said is that a business that is not using DEI practices will eventually hire better people than the business that hired using DEI practices, right?
Correct, yes.
Right, so that's a different statement than you said earlier, which is that hiring those better people will result in an outcome of the other business being unable to compete and failing. That's where you went the first time. So do you think both of those, or do you only think one?
I honestly didn't understand the second thing that you said, because my position, maybe I might have misspoke, but my entire position is that on that is if you're excluding a group based on skin color, just by the laws of probability, you're going to run into instances where you're not hiring the best person, and so that's going to go to your competition, right? And so if you're continuously going with an inefficient process, that's just going to snowball over time, that inefficiency, and who knows what sort of catastrophes that sort of process could lead to, because
or not,
just
or not, right? Or not. It doesn't have to lead to a catastrophe is my entire point. Just because that happens, it does not have to lead to a catastrophe.
But hold on, in an economy where there's going to be continuously new businesses forming, right? A catastrophe is inevitable at that point, because, like I said, there's probabilities, and you just need those instances to happen. And
the number of assumptions you are making to come to that conclusion is like an infinite universe. Like, do you not realize that? Like,
but we're going to extremes. The one that I'm most concerned about is letting the most competent people go to your competition. And eventually your competition is going to eat you up at that point. If you have an inefficient process.
Maybe not, brother.
Right?
I mean, you're making the number of assumptions in that statement of your competition will then eat you up. Yeah. Like, the number of assumptions you're making that are contained in that conclusion, it's beyond the beyond. Like, you're talking about you're a scientific person, but then you say something like that that is very unscientific, the conclusion you're coming to there and the way you're coming to it. And so,
I've been in the business world long enough to see how things operate, and wherever there's an opportunity, there's gonna be a greedy capitalist to come along, right, and fulfill that, or exploit that opportunity. So if they see you, with your company with all these inefficient processes, here's going to come this guy to come make that money. That's going to be easy money to make.
Yeah, bro. In general, I'm not arguing with that general point. Okay, like, obviously that is pretty basic to understand. I think we all understand that if one business is more efficient than a competing business, then the business is more efficient is going to do better. I still don't think it means that the other business will go out of business or necessarily have any negative consequences altogether. There's all kinds of factors that influence whether businesses succeed or fail that have absolutely nothing to do with how efficient they are.